from the United States, we're at maybe a 2, maybe a 3, and we're going to take it to 12 or 13. They absolutely will be targeting the oil exports, but also other industries as well.
Donald Trump has not had much to say about Iran in his first few days in office, which is hardly surprising given that it's what's been happening elsewhere in the Middle East, but that could be about to change. Iran limps into 2025 in bad shape. One of its proxy forces, Hamas, has been shattered. Another, Hezbollah, has been decapitated and neutralized. And the collapse of the Assad regime in Syria means Iran has lost the main routes by which it armed and organized its proxies. On Tuesday, President Trump signed an executive order to recommence what he calls, quote, his maximum pressure policy on Iran. So what happens now? Richard Goldberg worked on Iran policy in the last Trump administration. He was even sanctioned by Iran in August 2020, so he must have been doing his job. He's now a senior advisor at the Federation for the Defense of Democracies. He joins me now. Richard, welcome to the program. Let me just ask you right away, in your view, what does Mr. Trump mean by maximum pressure?
Well, I think it is exactly as his order reads. He says that he would like to have a deal with the Islamic Republic, if possible, where they forego the nuclear weapons capability. They cannot threaten us with nuclear weapons. They cannot threaten us with nuclear extortion, as they have done throughout this process. It wouldn't be a deal, I imagine, like the flawed JCPOA. He's calling it, I believe, the verifiable nuclear peace agreement, as he said on Truth Social. But he clearly sees that they're not serious at the moment about negotiating anything. This is obviously a very radical, maniacal regime that spreads terror throughout the region and the world, has tried to assassinate even President Trump. And we see from intelligence leaks is on the verge of crossing the nuclear threshold, maybe working on the weapon itself now through computer modeling. So it's a very precarious situation. He sees that he's now inheriting a situation where, while you're correct, thanks to the Israeli military action over the last few months, strategically, Iran is quite vulnerable because of the lack of their air defenses, Assad's collapse, Hezbollah being decimated, and so on. But financially, they're much stronger than they were when he left office because the maximum pressure campaign that he had was vacated by President Biden in favor of what I like to call maximum deference. And that obviously led to a buildup of cash being opened up for them in various spigots, their oil flows surging from down at 300,000, 500,000 barrels per day when Trump left office to upwards of 2 million barrels per day at times during the Biden administration. And so if you read this maximum pressure order, he's saying he's going to squeeze the resources out of the regime, drive their oil exports back down towards zero, close down all the cash accounts that have been made available, seek their diplomatic and political isolation at the United Nations, other fora, hold them accountable for their nuclear misconduct, and of course protect our own homeland from what they're doing to us here on our soil, whether it is networks that are operating, financial networks, influence operations, cyber attacks, and so on.
Let's dig into some of that. But let me begin by, what do you think, or what should the end game be of American policy? Should it be, as you've described, the attempt to crib and confine the current regime so it doesn't develop nuclear weapons, and I assume also stops financing or arming its proxy forces, or should it be regime change?
Well, my view is that an Islamic Republic that decides it continues on a pursuit of nuclear weapons, continues to export terrorism and sponsor terrorism, that's proliferating missiles throughout the region, building long-range missiles intended to carry a nuclear weapon to deliver against the United States, plotting assassinations and kidnappings on U.S. soil, and so on. That regime with less money is a good thing for our national security. It's a good thing for British national security, understanding the IRG networks on your own soil and the operations we've seen there, the threats to journalists we've seen in the UK, et cetera. And so I think there is a partnership opportunity between the United States, the UK, other like-minded allies, the EU certainly, to take various steps to squeeze the regime of resources. If they decide they don't want to collapse, they don't want to be brought to their knees, they want to change their fundamental way of operating to threaten us, give up their nuclear weapons capabilities, which would include their enrichment capabilities, their reprocessing capabilities, their nuclear capable missile capabilities, stop sponsoring terror, stop trying to attack us on our soil, I think we can have a very different relationship. If they don't do that, we need to work together to squeeze them of the resources to try to do those things.
I hear what you say about the oil revenues again. Exporting a couple of million barrels a day has meant more money into the Tehran coffers. But even with that, the economic situation in Iran is still pretty dire. And after Israel's defeat of Hamas and Hezbollah, and of course Assad too, it's suffered an immense loss of face to the regime and things that were not popular with the Iranian people anyway. The Iranian people didn't want to give money to Hezbollah or Hamas. They're not anti-Israeli like the Iranian regime. So how secure is it? I mean, could oil sanctions alone, which the main source of revenue dried up, could that on its own, slashing these revenues, perhaps topple the regime?
I think it's a combination of things that are needed to bring you to maximum pressure that the president talks about. Right now, what's happening inside of Iran is a combination of Israeli military action and the regime's own corruption and mismanagement. You talk about the domestic energy crisis that's going on right now, where they're having rolling blackouts. That's because of their own mismanagement of their system. But from a sanctions perspective, from a pressure perspective from the United States, we're at maybe a 2, maybe a 3, and we're going to take it to 12 or 13. They absolutely will be targeting the oil exports, but also other industries as well, metals and mining, petrochemicals as well, looking at all the bank accounts that they have access to right now. There's a $10 billion account between Baghdad and Oman that needs to get shut down. There's $6 billion in Qatar that needs to get shut down. So all of these things put together, and then talking to banks, talking to companies, saying, hey, what's your due diligence policy today? Was it more relaxed during the Biden administration? Do you just have a know your customer standard for Iran? How about trying a know your customer's customer standard for Iran when you do business at a bank? Really put the squeeze on this regime. At the UN as well, the Security Council, I think you'll see Ambassador Stefanik holding a lot of meetings, pushing resolutions, the snapback of UN sanctions, which we need UK support to do. Actually seeing the UK prescribe the IRGC finally, have the EU do the same, join the United States. If we can work together, I know they're going to try to break us apart. That's their game plan. But if we stay together on this and squeeze them together and really take the maximum pressure campaign to an 11 or 12, I think we will have great success.
In your assessment, how close is Iran to the bomb?
From a fissile material perspective, their ability to create the actual nuclear material you need, the weapons grade uranium for a bomb on the uranium pathway, they're there, right? So let's just assume they've crossed the threshold. We don't have them verified of producing 90% weapons grade uranium. We've caught them at the IAEA so far going about 84%. So let's just assume, based on all the advanced centrifuges they have deployed over the last 4 years, all the different things they have tried, things that we know that they have reconfigured to produce, the amount of stockpile they have right now that can quickly be turned from 60% high enriched uranium into 90% or 20% up to 90%. It's a long weekend, and they have what they need for a bomb or several more in the weeks that follow. On the missile side, the delivery system side, they're there. We know that. They've tested them. We've seen them use ballistic missiles now actually in real life. It's not just a theoretical threat. Twice last year against Israel. The question is on the weapon itself and the weaponization program. That's the part that's hardest to detect. They're not doing that in the open. They're not doing that with the IAEA inspectors. These are at military sites. These are at secret universities. These are at places where an organization called SPND, which is its secret military nuclear weapons program. And so we understand from intelligence leaks, they are working on computer modeling towards the weapon. That is considered weaponization work. Under the international definitions, it's what the IAEA considered it. It's what the JCPOA even considered it. So they are now working on that third leg. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a deliverable system. It doesn't have to be an actual nuclear weapon the way you would expect them to build. It could just be a crude device that they want to go boom in the desert to prove they're a nuclear power. And that takes a lot less time. So I think we are at the 1 yard line right now. This is a very serious situation. And the Israelis obviously are monitoring that. They've signaled they're prepared to take further military action. They're talking to President Trump about it, obviously. He wants to try maximum pressure first. He wants to see if a deal is possible before you would ever entertain a military option. That's prudent. He owes that to the American people. He says he's somebody who wants to end war and promote peace. But I think we all know that if Iran can threaten us with a nuclear weapon, if they get a nuclear weapon, if they can just sit on the 1 yard line and extort us over the possibility of getting a nuclear weapon, we never get peace in the region. We only get endless war, and we can't focus on the bigger global threats that we face.
If there's no deal on nukes, no deal to be done, and I would have thought it's going to be very hard with his regime to get what Mr. Trump calls a verifiable nuclear peace agreement. If I'm right and it proves hard, should America supply Israel with what I understand are the bunker buster bombs it would need to take out Iran's nuclear facilities?
Well, I won't opine on what the president will do in the military domain. That's up to him. What I do know is that we've already started releasing all the holds on weapons that the Biden administration had put up for Israeli weapons. Obviously, Prime Minister Netanyahu is in the United States this week having very high-level meetings. I don't think in my lifetime I've seen projected a closer relationship between the United States and Israel. And by the way, we need the British government to close ranks as well. We can't keep going through what we saw in the last 15, 16 months. Any weapons holds should be lifted. We need to see the British government, the Canadian government, others come back to the table, show that they are allies with a fellow democracy in a very tough region that's at the front line for us in fighting mutual adversaries. And I think that will provide them the tools they need. I think they already have a lot of tools. They've proven, they've surprised a lot of people over the last year.
Indeed.
What they did in Lebanon to Hezbollah, what they've done to Iran, inside of Iran. So with or without us, I think the Israelis have contingency plans to take care of themselves in the region, obviously stronger if we are all working together.
Richard Goldberg, Senior Advisor at the Federation for the Defense of Democracies, thank you for joining us on Times Radio.